I just love being out here. I don't necessarily have to have a favorite animal to be with. Just to be out here, be doing what I'm doing is phenomenal. All the buffalo came this way. The buffalo are somewhere up ahead. And buffaloes are cut line. I'm not going to go to them right now. They are definitely heading east. Let me just go a little bit forward. Might be a nice shot. Or it might be getting too bright now. Oh, very bright. Another skeleton of a tree. Welcome to anybody who's maybe joining us a little late this morning. Welcome to Safari TV. Coming to you live from the Sabi Sand. I've been driving around looking for some leopard tracks because we had leopard on the dam wall. We had leopard around Gowrie Dam last night in the area. We did manage to get a few glimpses of Karula towards the end of our drive yesterday afternoon, and I was having a look to see where her tracks are. It looks like she maybe have joined up with one of her sons. I did see some of his tracks this morning, but I'm not clear as to where they're going just yet. I don't know whether that track that I saw was before this guinea fowl kill on the dam wall, or whether it was after the kill. And trying to find some idea of the direction they moved once they left Gowrie Dam. And I've come this far down Central Road to Gowrie Cutline. I'll make my way now back to Mvubu Road. We're going to do Mvubu Road. I think what we'll do is we'll go to Mvubu Road towards Riffles and Cutline. We'll head north, see if there are any tracks up there. Otherwise we're going to have to come back to the east. How different the sky is looking to the west than it was now looking to the east to the sunrise. Blue skies, lovely cloud.
Okay, copy. Ya, tinggal jumpa malam mengilik pandai aplikasi dan kamar.
I've been getting a few questions and hellos from all over the world this morning. People sending in emails to Final Control at safari.tv. And my name is Mark, by the way. That's Mark with a C at safari.tv. But the questions coming to Final Control at safari.tv. Jared on camera behind me, and Catherine back in Final Control. Very interesting question from Erica and Chris. How long does it take females in a lion pride to accept new males coming in? I don't think there's really a set time, but it does take time. It is a process that needs to happen, because the males that come in, whether it's a male or males, whether it's a single male or coalition, that come into a pride, or rather come into a territory and take over a pride, if there's any chance that they can be ousted, or if they're too old, or if they're inexperienced, of course it depends on how they've come into the pride and how they've taken over. If they've taken over through fighting and ousting a male, then it's a different story. But generally speaking, any new males coming into a territory have to prove themselves, and that's something that will take time in terms of interacting with neighboring prides, the way they call. Females want to be sure that males coming into a pride are going to be able to hold dominance over that area, to be able to hold that territory long enough to raise a good litter of cubs. I can't really give you a time frame. I mean, it could take months, not more than many months, not more than several months, but it could take weeks, could take months, depends on the circumstances, lion pressures from other prides. Good morning, Pamela. Nice to hear from you. And I'm not seeing any tracks for joy. Not of leopard at any rate. Well, that means I'm not going to go too far down Vubu Road. Just a little bit further in case they were at the lodge and they came up from the lodge. We'll just go a little bit further. And then I want to go back east. Back to the east. Pamela wanted to know what that person was doing sitting in front of the vehicle. Now, Pamela, obviously you haven't seen, well, we don't really show the game drive vehicles very much, so it's not easy to get an idea of how things look. That is typical of a game drive vehicle anywhere here in South Africa. It's the tracker seat. They're not two rangers or guides. One is the tracker, one is the guide. The tracker sits on that seat in the front to be able to find the track, to also looking out for animals, both as a spotter and a tracker. Excuse me a second.
On that corner you was no propagio or anything. But in Diamond, yeah, sir. I looked at my file. I'm going to do that.
Talking about stuff up north. I guess Pamela was also asking, does that not break the profile of the vehicle? I guess, Pamela, yes it does in some respects, but the animals are used to it. I mean, I've sat on that tracker seat many times with lion, leopard at my feet, elephant coming along. I mean, nowadays most times, most circumstances, the tracker, before they go into a sighting, the tracker gets off of the tracker seat and sits in the back with the guests. And that is partly to break the profile, but also partly just because it can get a little dangerous. It can be a little bit touchy, having a tracker up front, especially if animals are moving close to the vehicle. We have to remember that animals move close to the vehicle, not necessarily the vehicles moving close to the animals. I don't really like to use the word dangerous. Let's just call it precarious. If the ranger needs to move the vehicle very suddenly or something, it's always better to have, in a sighting, to have the tracker in the vehicle with all the other people. And in that case, course it maintains the integrity of the outline of the vehicle. I have to be honest though, I mean I've seen animals making eye contact with almost every individual in a vehicle. So a lot of animals do see the human beings on the vehicle, but it's a non-threatening pose, and it's become well, the animals are accustomed to the vehicle and the people on the vehicle sitting down. I mean, there's times when you will always get a guest who wants to stand up, despite sitting really high up on the vehicle, despite the fact that you've got a good view of things. There's always going to be one person that has to stand up to take a photograph, and that is breaking the profile. That is something that I've seen cause a little bit of concern with an animal, or even aggression with an animal when a human stands up. But generally speaking, with everybody sitting down, it keeps the profile pretty low, and it's a very passive stance, a very passive posture. Standing up, of course, becomes an aggressive posture to an animal. As it is, let's go a bit forward. I'm just going to turn around and go back the other way, like a vulture's nest to Chelapan around that way. Still keen to try and find some sign of where these leopard went. We are still, apart from looking for tracks, we are looking for animals. The fact that we turn around and drive the same road doesn't mean we're not going to see anything, because animals are constantly moving. We can have an animal walking out into the road 2 minutes after we drive by, so it's not like we're going over the same ground. But it does help us sometimes just to find tracks, to keep an idea of the area where these animals are, so we can either find them in the morning or go back there in the afternoon. But Pamela, I hope that answered your question. Sorry to interrupt the way I do. It's the norm for game drive vehicles to have a tracker on the front. So I guess at the end of the day, animals are used to it. They're used to seeing that profile. And in sightings with dangerous game, the tractor does move to the back. Getting back to these leopard tracks, I've been systematically checking almost every road around the area where they were last night, except for towards the southeast. Oh, they see what I mean. Young Nyala Bull. We were here 2 minutes ago. He wasn't here. Morning, young man. Still got a little bit of that female coloration. Let me try and move a little bit forward. I thought I could roll forward. Good gap for the camera. Oh, there's a female there as well with him. One of the things, Jared was mentioning it on Drive yesterday, the dimorphism, the sexual dimorphism between the male and female Nyala being so different to the dimorphism of any other animal. And when we look at a lot of other creatures that are very similar, we find that when the males are young and they look like the females, the reason, well, not the reason, but the fact that there is such a strong difference between the sexes. Oh, this beautiful bull. Speaking of dimorphism, look how different the big bull is to the females. Let me try and move, Jared.
I'm good.
Okay. Is so that the young males can, in looking like females, they are afforded a longer time period when they can stay with the group. before they become a threat to the adult male. Now this happens even in fish, where non-dominant males will take on the appearance of females to be able to stay within the social group of things and not be hounded by the dominant male. And it's only when they become fully adult that they are then, or they take on the appearance of an adult male, and then it's when the father will start getting a little bit aggressive towards them. This young male's already starting to get a little bit dark, and soon he'll probably get a little bit of aggression coming from this bull. Let me move, see if we can get a better view of him. We are sitting at an awkward angle. Good. We have seen him quite a lot. I do recognize him. His left ear is torn. I recall seeing him on quarantine. I've seen him a number of times on the other side of the dam too. Got a flap of skin hanging off of his left ear. Getting to some of the green grasses in there. He's hidden now. Moving a little. Let's see if we can move a little bit ourselves. Might have to move on. One of the females under a bush, but on the other side of this dense area. Dense grasses, dense trees and shrubs. Morning, Anne. Well, for Anne, it's probably afternoon or late afternoon even. Anne is in Wellington in New Zealand. It goes to show we've got people from all over the world with us this morning. Anne's asking how often is it that lion will eat the lion that they kill in a fight. How often does that happen? I've never heard of it. I can't tell you how often it is, and it does occur. It's not every time. I can't tell you whether it's frequent or common, or all I know is that it does happen. I just unfortunately can't give you figures on how often it happens. I don't think it'll happen every time lion have a conflict like that, and there are deaths as a result of that conflict, because very much so, very often, there's the female now, I get to see her with this young male, and you can see how much similar he is still to the appearance of a female, as opposed to that lovely darkness of the bull who's coming up at the back there now. Little boy just making sure that he keeps his distance from the big bull. Beautiful antelope though. Absolutely stunning little antelope. So graceful, dainty. And most of the time when lions fight, there's invariably an individual that will back down when there's a discrepancy in strength or numbers. It's very, very, very seldom that it ends in death. It's not a common thing that happens. If anything, the older, weaker male is sort of pushed out and he kind of runs away, tail between his legs, with injuries, no doubt. Morning, lady. Pretty lady Nyala. Okay, they're all sticking to some thicker bush. We're going to move along. View of them. Another little family group. Mom, dad and little boy. Must be family day today. Morning to Hal in Ontario, in Canada. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you, Bruce. Getting back to the giraffe and the method of the mode of locomotion. The walking with legs on both sides, or on the same side, like a giraffe or a camel. Bruce is saying a harnessed racehorse walks the same way. Quite interesting, I didn't know that. I do spend time around horses, I love horses. I do a little bit of riding from time to time. Now and then. Mild riding. I can't go galloping across the plains as much as I would love to. But I love to take a stroll on a horse, or just with horses, just walking with horses and having them walk with you. It's great. But yeah, it's nice to sit on a horse too. But not noticed, I guess, haven't been with harness race horses that often. Don't get the chance to do that. Harness race horse also walking left leg and then both right, both left, both right. So we've kind of exhausted all our options in this area around Gowrie Dam, around Taylor Lodge. I think it's time to just let's move on a little bit further afield. We'll go to Vulture's Nest and Batelier Road. With no tracks on any of these roads, the only other alternative is that they're down here in this drainage line and they moved a little bit south, or just that they are somewhere down here. Another good possibility is that they do have a kill somewhere, and that is the reason why they haven't been moving around, is because there's a kill somewhere and they are feeding on it, or they're fighting over it, or they've fed on it and are now sleeping somewhere. Guinea fowl was merely an appetizer. From Bala. Bears also have a gait like camels and giraffes. Didn't know that one either. Another giraffe. Speaking of giraffe, and somewhat of a different coat pattern. In fact, very similar to the coat pattern of a Maasai giraffe. Or no, or close to a reticulated giraffe. I can see an adult in the background. I can just see some branches moving and an ear. This is a youngster of probably about 18 months, 2 years. There's a much taller adult coming, big mama. Lovely old lady coming through at the back there, just checking to see whether we're behaving ourselves with her calf. This could be the rest of that group. I mean, we had that male, that youngster, and the female. Now, the last time I saw them was as a group of 6. One of these females has the top of her tail missing, and I think it's possibly the same group, because there is this older calf that was with that younger calf. We would have to take spot patterns, marking patterns, or other distinguishing features. Okay, bye. Don't talk to us then. Very well. Thank you, giraffe. Oh, they moved into the thicket now. Oh. Dale, curious about this. Dale saying he was attacked by a giraffe once. And she stuck her hat out and took his hat off. No, she stuck her tongue out and took his hat off. I could have only been in a safari park under under artificial conditions, though. I doubt whether that would have happened in the wild. Looking at the squirrels. Okay, Dale, I'd hardly call that an attack. I have to be honest. Stuck her head over a fence and took his hat off, probably because she's a tame giraffe and she's been fed and Dale didn't have any peanuts or something. But I was watching two squirrels, but there's only one left now, but the two of them were sitting on that dead branch. It was quite cute actually, because they were huddled together, and then it was almost as though they had this little tiff and she turned her back and faced the other way. She's now sitting lower down in this combretum. But I was also going to look at those giraffes, because I could just see that one female's head looking through the trees, and it looked like she was quite interested in something. And then I got sidetracked by squirrels and Dale. Okay. Now I want to see that giraffe mother again. Oops. And I can't see them, they've disappeared. So, and they've gone that way. Okay. Just saw the little one moving, but very dense in there. Can't see a 15-foot giraffe. Morning, Kathy. Kathy wants to know if I've seen a giraffe giving birth. Only on film, Kathy. Never in the wild, never in nature, no. Despite living with giraffe, despite having watched giraffe most of my life, I have seen minutes later, I've seen giraffe shortly thereafter, having just given birth. But sadly, haven't had the pleasure, haven't had the luck of being able to see it for real. In fact, it's quite an amazing thing, because animals are being born all the time, especially in impala lambing season. So many impala and so many lambs are born in such a short period of time, yet I've never actually seen it happen. The only thing I've seen being born is a cow. Calf. Domestic Nguni cattle. Oh, hello woodpecker. Stay there please. Let's see if we can get an ID from somebody. See, lovely streaked chest, yellow spots on the back, red crown, sitting in the sun. We still got it, Jared, or must I move? Ah, she's going. She's there. Stay there in the sun. Stay there please. Is that good? I think I know which one it is, but I'm going to wait until I get an ID from somebody. Brown forehead, red crown, that's diagnostic. That coupled with the streaky breast and the yellow spots on the back, that should be enough to ID it. It's the Woody Woodpecker's song.
Brown forehead is
very characteristic. Yeah. She's a little busybody. See, I'm giving her a hint. It's a female. Tapping the wood, they get the sound of the hollow. Oh, there's an aeromomola flitting around. They get the sound of the hollow chambers that are dug out by the larvae of wood-boring beetles, and that encourages them to tap a little bit further. And then they've got a lovely long tongue. That once they get a hole into the wood, they can get their tongue in there to extract the larva. The woodpecker or the aeromomola. Oh, it's an apellus too. The bath-throated apellus. Nice little bird party going on here. Don't know if we're going to be able to get it. It's coming up to the top of this buffalo thorn now. They're too quick. Yeah. Brrr. And you, Mrs. Apellus, are you? Okay. Very hard to get some of these little birds. Their metabolism is so fast. They move so fast. I mean, their lives, everything about it, it's just so frenetic. Moving fast. Fast movements, fast heartbeats, fast time for them must sort of just, well, I guess when they're looking at us, we must be moving in slow motion. Joy, I'm still looking for leopard tracks, just by the way, I haven't forgotten. Lots of baboon. This is where the baboon came home from last night. So where was I? Anybody come back on that woodpecker? Where's Dave Hill? Also, I've got a question to answer. I noticed it was sent to my email. Dave, if you're with us this morning, you wanted to know about nightjars singing in winter, not in summer. I'm still trying to come up with a good enough answer for you on that one. Their sound is lost in summer, so they don't call because there's so many other sounds. And in winter, they're one of the only lovely nighttime calls. Crisp air, that nightjar sound, it just rings out across the bushveld. Something like that. Can't do the end bit properly. No, it doesn't go like that. Hello, hornbills. Brian. Hello, Brian. Golden-tailed woodpecker. I don't think so. I thought it was. Nah, it's not a bearded. But thanks, SAST. JTV. Let me show you. Or should I wait a little bit? Should I give you a hint? The Vatican. Goes golden tail from Laura, Finland. Odie in WeChat, Cardinal. I was going to say the next tent would be a red robed person in the Vatican. Let me just get over this bump and I'll show you. Oh, pull out the book. Oh, then you have parrots. Okay, let's have a look. Let me show you. Is it good enough? Do we need to orient it just to fit the frame? Are you on the whole page?
Yeah.
Okay, these are most of the woodpeckers that we're going to have with red on the head and a variety of different combinations of things. Now if we can zoom in, let's zoom in on this one, the bearded, at the bottom here. Okay, if we have a look at the male bearded, we've got a combination of things. We've got a striped breast, more or less a striped back. But one of the main things about the bearded is the fact that the red crown comes to above the eye and the forehead is black with white spots. But very much, definitely the red crown coming up to the eye. But also it has the black eye line and it has the black moustachial stripe or the bearded stripe. The female, on the other hand, doesn't have any red at all, so we can rule her out. So it wasn't a bearded because the forehead was brown. The belly was streaked so that the lines were coming down, not across like stripes, and it was a spotted back. And it's those combinations that one has to look at when one is looking at woodpeckers. If we go over to the golden-tailed, which was another guess, which was getting close, up here on the top right-hand side of the page, the female of the golden-tailed, very similar to what we're looking at. It's got a bit of a streaky breast, a bit of a spotted back, but its forehead, first of all, the red crown comes only sort of, it's like a yarmulke, it's like a skull cap, it's just at the back of the head, and most of the head is black with white spots. The male, of course, has got a fully covered red crown for the golden-tailed, so we can rule him out. We didn't really look at beard stripes or moustachial stripes or eye lines in this particular woodpecker, but what we did do, actually, did I say it was a female? No, I'm sorry, it wasn't a female, it was a male. Made a mistake, forgive me. But if we go back to our cardinal, very distinct, the brown forehead. It's the only one of the woodpeckers that has a brown forehead with the red crown, and then the streaked breast with the spotted back. So there's some of the subtle differences between woodpeckers, sometimes not very easy to see. Don't know why I called it a female, because the female doesn't have any red in the cardinal.
Fantastic.
Because I was listening to people say golden-tailed and I was thinking a female golden-tailed. Onward ho! And we're on Vulture's Nest. In case you're following our progress through Djuma Game Reserve here on this lovely Saturday morning. My name is Mark, with Jared on camera. And we are at such and such o'clock Central African time. I don't know, probably around about 8:30, I guess, Central African time. I've been looking for leopard tracks all morning, and although I haven't found any to follow, we've been driving around looking at animals and all sorts of interesting things along the way while we are looking for leopard tracks. We have a request from Joy in Australia to have a closer look at a leopard track if and when we find it. One. I know where I can find one on the way back at the end of drive. We'll have a look at that. Try and get back there to Twin Dams Road where it meets with the Wahlberg Eagle Nest Road. question mark. Morning, Afka. Ah, Peter. The walk is called pacing. I wonder, is this Peter in Germany? Peter Patterson. Peter, yes, it does run in a very different way. I mean, runs like a racehorse. A giraffe. Of cats. Yeah, when they run and they really at a trot, they can actually run the speed of a racehorse. Excuse me a moment. Something in a tree up ahead. A monkey, as I thought it was. I was hoping that it was sitting up there shouting and that we could get closer and maybe they were shouting at a leopard. I see a vulture on its nest. The new vulture's nest on Vulture's Nest Road. Let's see if we can just get a gap through the trees to see it sunning in the morning, trying to get a bit of warmth. Morning, vulture. I can hear a squirrel shouting, but there was a vermin monkey sitting on the top of a dead tree up ahead, still somewhat further. And sometimes the monkey sitting like that, it's an indication that they're keeping their eye on a predator, but I'm not hearing any monkeys shouting at the moment. Just squirrels. Squirrels are making a noise. Maybe we ought to move it up a little. Let's have a quick look at vulture. Squirrel's actually not far from this vulture's nest, by the sound of things. I thought it was much further up. But it's down in the drainage line below us. Might have to do a bit of a loop around Chelapan into the Mulwati. Dacre just running in front of us, diving into the bush. Morning, Alan. Hello to everybody in Pennsylvania. Sorry. Annika, good morning. A question that we get from time to time. Since we are dealing with wild animals, people are sometimes curious about whether we have any incidents of being charged or attacks or what have you. Annika, I can only answer from my own point of view. I can't answer for the few thousand guides that are out on foot in Africa every day because I'm not too sure. I guess yes, the answer is yes. Annika wants to know, have there been any attacks on people out on foot? Yes, there have been. Incidents that I've heard about, they're from all over Africa. Few and far between. It doesn't happen very often. Guides generally tend to be very careful. Sometimes they can get a little bit gung-ho because they have to carry a rifle, and a rifle sometimes gives them a false sense of security. And they are likely to do things that they wouldn't do if they didn't have a rifle. And the rifle's not always the answer. Sometimes a charging animal is not the easiest of targets. One does have to be proficient in the use of a weapon, especially in an emergency and especially at very short notice and in extreme circumstances. Sorry, I'm just looking around for tracks while I'm talking, folks. I know it's probably I'm tired of seeing the back of my head looking down, but I really would like to find tracks. I'm gonna go back up to Batley Road and come back down Mumba Road maybe, I don't know. Onto Batley Road. I want to see if those hyenas have been active there again, because there are some tracks here coming from there. It might be that they've moved and they're now staying at this old den site here on Batley Road. Annika, I've had a few incidents in my time. I mean, I have spent the better part of the last 23 odd years on foot in the bush. I've had my fair share of incidents of animals charging, mock charges. I did have one incident that turned into a full charge, and well, I came off second best with an elephant. Guests were fine though, I made sure they were okay. But it is a reality, one has to take this into account. When you do come to the bush, invariably you have to sign an indemnity or something. Because while you might have experienced guides and trackers, and they might do everything in their power to not put you in a position, it is the bush, it is nature, and while animals might be accustomed to people on vehicles, there's a completely different scenario when people are on foot. And the one thing that always struck me, I better actually just pause here because I'm going through the dip. I'll carry on the other side of the dip. Okay. And see how much hyena there is activity, Jared. They've been sleeping here, they've been, and this is almost daily, there's tracks of them sleeping and stuff. So I think they're using, just up here, then just through here. I think this is where their den is now. This wasn't old there. I mean, they spent a couple of months there last year. But, and look at all these tracks. It's just covered in hyena tracks. So yeah, I'm guessing that this is where we need to come at night or first thing in the morning. Okay, let me just finish this.
Yeah, just no, category cut time.
Exactly.
The land along the Katan or the camp from the east.
Finally some warmth coming into the air, sun breaking through. So just finally finishing with that. The one thing that was always a factor in going out for walks, and sometimes especially when I was taking people out on 2 or 3 day overnight walking safaris, was not knowing how people will react. Because the danger in the bush is not so much the animal as much as it is the human, and it's the things that the human does that puts the human in the dangerous circumstance or dangerous situation. And as much as one can emphasize to people before you go out on a walk what to do, what not to do, to please listen to my commands, my instructions. If we get into a sticky situation, you just never know how a person is going to react when the time comes. And sometimes, fortunately, people sort of go into a tell me what to do kind of circumstance, some kind of situation, where you can tell them anything and they'll do it. And that's pretty good. But sometimes people, there's this fight or flight reaction, and sometimes people just have this flight reaction. And in some cases, in most cases, the worst thing a person can do is turn around and run away, especially leaving the group on the walk. And that's sometimes the circumstances that result in an animal getting a little bit aggressive because of that kind of behavior. But generally speaking, it should all work out fine, and walks are really a beautiful thing. It's one of the most amazing experiences that anyone could ever do, is taking a walk in the bush. And it's not as dangerous as it may seem or sound like. You just have to see little scrub hares and baby impalas running around to know that it's not that dangerous. It's not like there's animals out there to pounce on you and eat you as soon as you step out of a vehicle. But certainly you have to know what you're doing, and it's not a place for somebody to be walking around who don't know what they're doing, who don't know how to behave or how to react, and hence the need for well-trained guides to be able to take people out on foot. Just quickly changing the subject slightly, we're up on Battalier Road now. We came past while it was breaking up, and hopefully we'll be able to get, oh, I see Kudu up ahead. We'll be able to get a good signal there if we stop. But it seems to me that the hyena are using this den on Battalier Road, because this road is just littered with hyena tracks. And the area where the old den site was, there's a lot of tracks or a lot of marks of where they've been lying down in the road, in the sand, the youngsters. There's lots and lots of tracks. It's an idea to come here either early morning or just after dark on our way back to camp. Where did this kudu go? There he goes, it's a young bull. Let's see if we can just turn in here. There's a little old track that goes to these pans. The young kudu bull. We don't really haven't seen a bull this age before. We've either had those big old bulls. He's going to be a bit shy. Either had old bulls or we've had very young bulls. Oops. This is about a 3-year-old, I think. I don't know. Hopefully we won't fall into a hole on this termite mound. Oh, there's a hole. He's looking at something. There's something ahead of him that's got his attention more than us. Hello, young man. Just getting his first twist. In fact, it's only about a half twist there to his horns. Whatever he was looking at can't be too serious, because he hasn't changed his direction at all. And now he's hiding. He's still looking towards those little mud pans that are probably dried up by now. Perhaps I can just look around this bush, see if I can see what it is that he was interested in. Possible he was hearing something more than seeing something. So I'm not seeing anything. Nothing here. There's still a little bit of mud, no shadow. 100% dry, but it is getting there. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. While we're here off the road, in this little open patch, I'm going to answer a couple of questions, and while I'm standing here, maybe we can listen for something that maybe that kudu was hearing, like the sound of a twig breaking. Jackets are riding up my back. It's still too cold to take anything off. Keep my layers on. I won't tell you how many layers I've got because I'm embarrassed, because the temperature is probably about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. I need to address some giraffe questions. Hello, Leanne. Giraffe question. Leanne is asking, if something happened to a female giraffe, I guess dying, killed by a lion or something, if something were to happen to a female giraffe, would another female giraffe take care of its baby? And I don't think so. I don't think there is any allosuckling, or no, I really don't think so. The times that I have seen those particular circumstances where lion have taken out a female giraffe and the baby actually hangs around, or even the vice versa, where I've seen lion take out the youngster and the mother hangs around, the lion eventually either get the mother or the youngster, whichever one was waiting and looking for whichever one was killed, if you follow me. Personally, I don't know of any circumstances where a giraffe female has been killed by lion or has died and a youngster has been taken in. It depends. I think a lot of it depends on the age. I mean, I'm talking about youngsters that are still within the first few months after birth, and you can still see their dried umbilical cord hanging there. I think if we're talking about a youngster of a year or 2 years old, I think if it's still with the group and the females and it's not suckling, it will stay with the group. It has a fair chance. But it's that initial period, the initial, say, 6 months, that a giraffe is vulnerable. That if the mother is killed or dies, that youngster won't know what to do with itself. And I don't think it will be able to bond with another female. And I think it will also get eaten either by lion or hyena. Jared, do you have any?
Same sentiment. Yeah.
But have you seen any giraffe females get killed and
Yes.
youngsters letting?
They attempted the female first, and she was a bit more difficult. And then eventually they took the youngster, being a lot easier, and then the female sort of came around, and then they took the female as well. So pretty much inevitably both will get taken out.
Yeah, I mean those are the times that I've seen it. So I don't think it would happen. I mean it can happen with very few animals. A lot of the herbivores, they build such a strong bond with their youngsters. In fact, especially the gregarious animals, they tend to leave the group when they do give birth, especially to bond with those youngsters, so that when they come back and they are within the group, the youngster knows their scent, their smell, their sight, and that bond is so strong that they can't bond with any other, because that bonding period is a very, very short period after birth. And it's that short period after birth that the female is, well, she needs to be separated from the group so that the youngster can bond with her, get to know her scent and get to know her sound. I know, for example, with zebra, there have been times when gosh, I'm getting tongue-tied here. A mole and a fair and, I mean,
Mole.
a foal and a mare, a mole and a fair. Where a foal has been left because the mare has been killed, and the stallion actually comes along and kills that foal, because the foal calls and calls and calls for its mother, and all it's doing is attracting attention to the group, and the stallion won't tolerate that. And I've seen a stallion killing a foal because it's lost its mare. So I don't think in many cases of herbivores, I don't think there are many that will do that. I know, obviously, primates. I mean, primates are known for that. Primates are very, very maternal, even for offspring of unrelated females within a troop. And lion, it's possible. Elephant, it's possible. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. Linda's saying an analogy. She's heard giraffe referred to as tall blondes. Sorry, Linda, to me, I don't know if that has some reference to supposed. No, I'm not going there. That's politically dangerous. Especially with the blonde directing the drive this morning. No comment. I've never heard that before. And I couldn't imagine why. But thanks, Linda. I'll be very careful to not mention it again. Det and Nella and Finn in Germany, and young Finn is 7 years old. And guten Morgen und wie geht's? Ich bin gut, danke. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. And I wish I could speak more, and maybe Heike can teach me more. I'm quite ashamed. Heike has learned to speak Shangaan, and I'm still struggling with German. But Finn wants to know, what is the least seen animal that we have here in the bush? I suppose what we could say here for this area of Djuma kind of depends on what animal we're talking about. If we're talking about, I think wild dog would be, if we're talking about animals that people want to see and people that are exciting animals that are endangered, that kind of thing, wild dog is one of them, or cheetah. But then if we look at nocturnal animals, we can look at things like aardvark and pangolin, and those are the anteaters, and serval or caracal. So there are actually quite a number of animals. I can't really think of one in particular that stands out, but there are a number of animals that we very seldom see here at Djuma that are very nice, quite amazing animals to see. So Finn, I hope that answers your question about the least seen animals. Black rhino, another one. There has been a black rhino come through here. It would be nice to see a black rhino again one of these days. And then of course there's that unforgettable moment when we had a brown hyena, but the chances of another brown hyena, well, we got more chance I think of seeing black rhino than we have of seeing brown hyena. But we did have that one really unforgettable moment with Rex and Peter last year, when they bumped into that brown hyena. It was quite incredible. Anyways, let's move along. Sun's starting to warm up the earth now.
Which area did they see that brown hyena, Mark?
Where was it? It was Buffels of Cutline, I think.
Oh.
I can't remember actually. I think so. Or no, it was Buetela Access Road, I think. I can't remember now. The funny thing was, when they saw this brown hyena, and we said, we saw brown hyena, we had so many people say, it was a spotted hyena and the light was bad. And we said, no, we got it on film. Yeah. We had it live on camera, the first time ever in the Sabi Sand. Not only the first photograph of a brown hyena in the Sabi Sand, but the first live footage. It had been seen at Mala Mala a few days earlier, a glimpse of it. But I don't know if anybody got a photograph of it, and I don't think anybody believed anyone at Mala Mala, because once again, unless you got proof, when you see something like a brown hyena, and you don't have proof, people are going to say, you didn't see it properly, it was a spotted hyena. Because brown hyena in this part of the world, just sort of, last record was in the 1950s. I remember finding a skull, Sabi in the 80s, and taking it to Skukuza to show Gus Mills. Those days Gus Mills was still in Skukuza, and I think those days he was doing a thesis on hyena, or might have been working on wild dog already. And it was such an old skull. It was a really, really old skull. And I took it to him because I couldn't positively identify it as a spotted hyena skull, and he couldn't positively identify it as a spotted either. He couldn't rule it out that it was a brown hyena. I wonder what happened to that skull. It was fragmented and a bit broken up, but the most important thing was a vestigial molar. A premolar. Is that all? Where's the time going? Susie. Good morning, Susie. Have I had any precarious moments with male elephants in Musk? And if so, how do I react? How do I stay safe? Susie, I've had many incidents or many encounters with bull elephants in Musk. I've had a bull elephant right in front of the vehicle, tusking the ground and giving a fantastic display of aggression. 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, I just sit quietly and ignore him. I think if any of you talk to Paula on chat again one of these days, when Paula and I met in Tanzania, I sat a whole group next to one of the biggest musk bulls I've ever sat next to, and he was literally just off of, I was in that side of the car. There was a moment when I had to have a driver so that I could relate to this. There was a group of zoo people, all zoo directors from all over the states, and instead of driving them, I had a driver and I could sit and guide and chat to them. And I had that. I could see his eyes were bigger than saucers. He had never sat, he's never stopped his vehicle, and I kept on wanting to start it, and I kept telling him, sit, sit, sit. And this big musk bull came around the vehicle right to the front door, and he was fine. I've had more trouble with cow elephants. Cow elephants are more of a problem, more of a threat sometimes when they're protecting calves. Not so much here in South Africa, where elephants are relatively accustomed to vehicles. But in East Africa, in some places where poaching has been so rife and so bad that elephants have had exceptionally bad experiences with humans. And it doesn't matter what you hold in your heart or how much you love them, they don't see that when they're enraged. Okay, just changing the subject slightly. Those leopard didn't move very far, and neither did that young lioness, because there's not a single track of that little lioness coming out of that area where she was sleeping in yesterday, and I'm not finding any tracks of these leopards. At least I've sort of laid the groundwork for the drive this afternoon, or where they aren't. But yeah, getting back to musk bulls, there have been incidences in Kruger Park. Incidences. Is it incidents? Where's Lee Criswell when I need her? Incidents or incidences? My brain can't separate the two right now. But there have been some occasions where elephants have caused damage to vehicles, possibly more than likely musk bulls. But I have to admit, the behavior of people in the Kruger Park is sometimes abominable, abysmal, shocking, embarrassing, because it's not international guests, it's the South Africans that behave so badly. And you just get one person doing something silly with an elephant, and then sort of getting in their car and driving away, and that elephant taking it out on the next innocent people. Well, we're sticking with the family theme. Stop there, children. Mom, Dad, and 2 little warthogs. Or maybe it was mom and daughter and 2 little ones. Morning, Piglet. See, I've trained that warthog to stop, look back, and then leave the road. When is it going to learn? Let's see if we can see them as we get closer. They are a little shy. Tails go up and off they run. Oh, there's African hawk eagle. Let me move forward. Maybe you can't see her. Him. It. Can you? We got a clear shot.
Yep.
Joshua has heard that when lions are mating, the female gets killed or injured. No. I haven't heard of that, Joshua. I know the male can get smacked around a little bit. And there's a strong reason for that. The mating process can be painful for the lioness. I know we've got some kids watching, so I won't get into too graphic detail. But it's a process that enhances or stimulates ovulation. And when lion are mating, very often, well, not very often, invariably, or any of the cats for that matter, but invariably the male is biting her on the neck, on the back of the neck. And that is a subduing gesture because of the pain during the mating process, or just shortly after. She is likely to turn around and try and swipe at him and scratch at him. So he tries to subdue her during the mating process to limit the amount of damage she does to him when he's finished. Pity this hawk eagle's in a bit too sort of silhouetted. We can't get to see it very well. A very distinct shape to the African hawk eagle that is very different to any other eagle. It's also a relatively small eagle. Probably about the size of a Wahlberg's, maybe a little even smaller, I'm not sure. Let me see if I've got sizes in my book. Anyways, let's move. We've got a few more. We've got a little way to go still. And we're nearly at the end of our morning already. I don't know where the morning has gone. Looking at... I don't have sizes.
The Wahlberg's is smaller.
Alright, let's move along. So, once again, not aware of any female lionesses getting seriously injured or killed during the mating process. Sorry, Joshua. Maybe if you have any incidents that you know of, you can let me know. Not impossible. I'm just saying I haven't witnessed it, or I'm not aware of it happening. Very good morning to a very good friend in Austria, Sharon. Wondering if you were on drive this morning. And thanks for the email. And maybe I haven't done enough birds for you this morning. But tomorrow morning then, I'll do more birds. There weren't that many birds to begin with this morning with that very thick mist. But it's turning into a lovely day here. I believe it's a lovely day in Austria. Hope you're going to have a fun day. Saturday. Sharon, by the way, before I go into this dip, I have to tell everybody, Sharon is responsible for most of the seek pointing in archive. Morning, Linda, again. Interesting piece of information coming from Linda, that she's heard a rumor that Mr. T has joined up with the Styx Prize. Something I'm interested to follow up on. I will have a look around the net later, see if there's any news on that. But as is the case with a lot of things that happen here in the Sabi Sands, sometimes you hear about it before we do, because you are on Nkoro Cam and you read the blogs of other guides and stuff. So from that point of view, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Linda, because that's something I can look into. Joy, having finally got, I think I'm dragging a branch or something. Making a funny sound. But Joy, I'll be driving again tomorrow morning, so we can try and find you a leopard track tomorrow morning. I'm not sure if you'll be on drive this afternoon. Just in terms of time frame, our afternoon drive would probably be midnight or so, or getting very late for you in Australia. But I won't forget, and the first leopard track that I see in the morning tomorrow morning, I'm sure I will think of you. So thanks for the question, and well, thank you everybody. Been a lovely morning of interaction from everyone. Then a lot of questions coming in, a lot of comments, also a lot of hellos from all over the world. It's fantastic to sort of head out in the morning and start our day, and there are people saying hello from every corner of the planet, and I love it. I think that's one of the beauties of what we do here as Safari TV. So thanks very much for all of that. I hope you've enjoyed our drive this morning. Thanks to Jared on camera, and thanks to Kath in Final Control. My name is Mark, and I'll be seeing you later. Bye-bye.